Hello and welcome back. This is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing, and today's video is quite a bit different because I made 10 or 11 cards out of a 6x6 paper pad, and I wanted you to be able to see the process along the way, but I didn't want you to have to watch for hours. So it's sped up quite a bit. If you find it exhausting or it doesn't work for you, slow it way down. Put on some music, turn it off, whatever you want to do. As you watch this video, be sure and leave in the comments if you don't like these kind of videos and you'd just rather see the end product. It's much easier for me to just make a quick video of the end product, but I thought you might like to see this. So what I've done is I'm kind of going with the 1/3, 2/3 design on the front cover, and I'm using a 6x6 paper pack. I think it was called Backyard Table that I got at Michael's, and it was $5.99 and then 70% off. And I had used a little bit of this paper for something before, but at $1.78 I couldn't pass up the paper pack. So I purchased it and set it aside for a day when I needed it. And you can see I've cut quite a few of these. I spent some time figuring out my measurements. One thing that's great to see on these cards is I'm putting these cards together in what I would call the proper way. I'm building the entire card on the front card panel, not the card base. And there you can see I wrapped my washi tape right around the back because I hadn't glued it down to anything. That's great for if you want to wrap ribbons or washi, or you want to use brads and you need that back accessible still and you don't want it to show later. Because it was the holiday week and there were lots of fireworks, I sort of did these in 2 batches so that I could be where the older dog wanted me to be. So you'll see this first batch I did in a pretty good order, and then the second ones I got bad about attaching them to the card bases, but I can also show you how to work around that too. So I pre-cut many of them, and I'm just assembling them. And the ones that said, you get me, thank you, I had heat embossed with white powder, and it was a really new stamp, and I'm not totally sure about that powder, but I got it to work in a way that I thought, okay, I'm not going to throw these out, but it wasn't a crisp, clean embossing image. And I'm just arranging the different papers. Sometimes when I pre-cut, I mix them up and then I can't figure out which ones go together. I have washi tape set out and jewels and just all sorts of things. But my main idea is I'm putting together cards for an auction for a fundraiser for Rett syndrome. So I know that these families are families that have girls in them, most likely. It's a little bit unusual for there to be boys. So that's why I have a lot of pink, a lot of sparkle, and I even had to borrow some pink inks from my friend because that's not something I have. So again, you can see I have pink ink there, and I have several different pinks that I use in this video. And I'm just trying to put together cards fairly quickly. I, of course, waited till it was somewhat close to the deadline, so I had to get them done that weekend. And this is the Tim Holtz Ideology washi tape. I got it at Tuesday Morning for $3.99 for 4 rolls in a pack. That's not the best price ever, but I opened it and felt it, and I knew that it was very similar to my favorite Queen & Company washi tape, just wider. So that's why I purchased it, even though it wasn't like a steal. It doesn't stick quite as well as the Queen & Company washi, so a couple times I had to like really rub it down to get it to stick. And you want your washi tape to be removable, but you don't want it to fall off before you give it to the recipient. So I'm trying to use cards that would appeal to a large group of people and also that will package well. Not too big, not a bunch of weird things hanging off of them. Every once in a while I'm having some adhesive trouble, so that's what I keep picking at. and sparkly and cheerful. I haven't done cards for an auction before, so I don't know what sells best. I don't know if I should have done all birthday cards or that kind of thing. But I like to use my crafts for a lot of gifts and pay it forward type things and just surprises to people. And so I wanted to help out with this. But of course I procrastinated, and so then I had to hurry a bit. And here I'm using the Tim Holtz stamp platform, and this is a brand new stamp. So before I decided to stamp it on my perfectly cut strip, I thought about it for a minute and decided to stamp it on white. Remember, brand new stamps, sometimes you need to test them out or break them in, and it worked just fine, so I thought it would be good. And it says, "Have a blooming good birthday." I really liked it with all the florals. And I know the green that I've used here is pretty bright, but it was one of those greens in the $2 paper pack or $2.50 that you've seen me use before, and it just kind of worked. So I went with it. And I have quite a bit of summer paper, but I wanted to be sure that the cards would still be useful if the people didn't use them right away. So I didn't want it to say, "Have a great summer." And if the cards take off, then we could help out again next year, because my friend made a bunch too. She made a ton. So just assembling. This one I don't love because I'm not sure what I was thinking when I split the panel down the middle. And then I tried leaving a gap because I thought I might like that, which in the end I didn't love either. And I used black inks on some. I'm not really sure why. I think because I hadn't gotten the variety of pinks yet. I hadn't borrowed them. And you can see I have the small foam squares. In these cards, when you're doing a bunch of strips and a lot of foam, see, then I put washi over it because I didn't like the crack I left in the middle. It's really good to have like the roll of the Scotch or 3M, whoever makes it, those rolls of foam mount, because you can just do strips. It gets kind of exhausting when you do all those squares, which is why you want the video sped up 5 times. I think these cards are so cute, and this paper pack is just really beautiful, and it lends itself so well to making some quick cards. And again, in these cards, I'm using the Worn Lipstick ink and pink from a paper pack, just like the green one that I bought, the $2 or $2.50 cardstock that's available at Michael's, Joann, any store near you. And the ones I've been buying that I really like are, the pack is green, but it has 5 different greens, or the pack is pinky peach, but it has 5 different, because if you're just using it here and there in cards for filler or layers, you're not going to use it very fast. It's much slower than if you're using it for card bases. So I don't want 100 sheets all the same color. I don't know how many are in them. So there you go. Those cards are all put together, and then I start putting them on their card bases. And I'm not great with my big adhesive roller yet, but I think for the most part I got it. Then I took the clear star pen and added a little sparkle to the flowers just to kind of dress it up. And that stuff does not show in a 5 times sped up video, so you've seen that in other videos before. That pen is lovely. And you just get to see how they come together. Some of them I probably should have cut the card front the same size, here's a good example, as the card base, so I didn't have that white rim on a card that didn't have any white. But my level of planning was not that extensive, and I'm sure that nobody's going to pick it up and say, "Oh, she should have cut that different." See, that one is really cute because it has white on the front and it ties it in, gives it another border. I used a variety of washi tapes, jewels, pearls. I tried to make them similar but not exactly the same. I was just trying to give interest but not make every card so they could give them out to coworkers and they wouldn't be all the same. I don't know that there are any 2 that are exactly the same, but I did use a lot of the same sentiments. So in this instance, I cut that card front the same as the card base, the same size. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's an A2. This is a preference thing. I have traditionally cut all of my cards a little smaller or had a border. A lot of people now cut their card front the same exact size as their card base, so you don't have that border. It's purely a style or preference thing. There's not a functionality. See, I did it one way on that one, and then that paper had white in it, so I did it the other way. It's not a right or wrong. It's completely what you like. I think if your card base doesn't go with your paper as well as you would like, then you could cut it big like I did there. And here I switched back because I had white polka dots in my paper. And again, these papers are very different, but they're all from the same paper pad. Butterflies, formal florals, casual florals. It's an interesting paper pack as far as the variety in it. Typically a paper pack has more the casual style or formal style. This one has a little bit of everything in it. And again, you're probably not going to be able to get it at your Michael's. I bought it and it sat around for a couple weeks. I don't show you everything I buy because it seems ridiculous. Okay, here, when I brought in that container, that's my dog in the background. What I'm showing you there is as I make all these cards, I put the matching papers in a Tupperware or a Dollar Tree container tray, something. So as I'm chopping up this paper pack, I end up with all these strips of paper. Sometimes I lay them out next to me so that I can see what I have to work with that's already pre-cut. It helps with inspiration. It helps with using up more of the paper, and it just keeps things a little more tidy. Don't get me wrong, I'm a mess, but that it helps me find them in the chaos. So on this one, I'm using a little bit of ribbon. This would have been a great example on why I shouldn't have adhered it to my card base already, because then I could have wrapped it around the yellow if I wanted. Sometimes ribbon gets a little lumpy. Okay, here, you don't see me use this stuff a lot, mostly because I forget I have it, but that's adhesive on a roll. Very popular. I bought it at the expo, the Stamp and Scrap Expo, and mostly I only use it for ribbon because I forget, but had I been thinking, it would have been brilliant for those narrow sentiments that I used on the earlier cards, right? You just lay it down, peel off the back, and you're done. And you're not dealing with your adhesive roller that may not be quite the right width. Okay, this is an example of where I get confused about the pieces that go together. And I work on this card for quite a while and I can't figure out what's wrong with it. And in a minute, when I lay it back down there, look at it and see, and you'll realize what I've done. And I keep looking at it and it just doesn't work for me, so then I add the flowers. That is not the sentiment that goes with that card. It's too big. So then here I figure it out, I grab the right one and put it together. I'm using Distress Oxide inks, and those take a second to dry. You don't want to stamp your image and then assemble your card or touch it a whole bunch. So that's why you'll see me in this run, I'm stamping and then setting the stuff aside. Okay, much better when you put the right sentiment on it. Here I'm testing out my gold pen, and then I switched to my gold Sharpie. This is a paint pen, not a regular Sharpie. The Signo pen keeps coming out too orange. I put a strip of washi inside the card, and I did that on quite a few of these before I finished them. And I also put washi on most of the envelopes and just dressed them up a little. Okay, so here I've stamped those flowers with the Distress Oxide in 2 colors of ink, and then I'm just putting 3 strips of washi because that pink washi is really narrow and I wanted a little more of an accent. And you can't see it probably very well, but it has some rose gold dots in it. It just adds a lot of interest that if you assemble your cards with just paper, without ribbon or washi tape or any other texture, they get a little boring. So it's nice to have that. Here I'm trying to figure out what I want to layer it up with. See, the other side of that paper is beautiful too. we'll make something with that at the end. Or maybe I won't show you that one. I can't remember. Okay. So then I'm looking at it. I'm testing out different jewels and different pearls. And then I make a decision that I'm just going to mount it flat. And when I'm hurrying and I'm not 100% sure if the ink is dry, you'll see me, I pat things. I never rub them. I just pat them, because then if the ink is still damp, at least it just gets on my hand. So I take off a little ink, but I don't smear it onto the white. That's an old habit that I have. These circles up above, I had from the last time I had some of this paper. I had experimented on them, and I had used some of the Bow Bunny paste that I demonstrated in a video, I think, or maybe just a picture on Instagram, and some different gold sprays. So these pre-punched circles have shimmer to them. They have different accents going on that might not show, but I thought that was a nice way. A, they were already punched, and B, they had some more interest that some of these other cards didn't have. And here I went with picked raspberry, and you'll see I took the circle and inked it on the pad just directly. I didn't even get out a blender brush, nothing fancy. You don't have to have blender brushes to do anything like that. You can use a marker along the edge. You've seen me do that before. And I brought in the white on this card for matting just because I thought it needed some interest. I could have gone with a light pink too, but these pinks are a little weird because they're corally. And then I foam mounted the hello, which is black. But again, if you're trying to make a bunch of cards and you're on a deadline and you sit around and nitpick every decision, what happens in the end is you never give anyone any cards. So sometimes you just have to say, black doesn't match perfectly, but it's cute anyway, and go with it. So here I'm using the art glitter glue on the back because I've foam mounted that, and if I use a roller on the back of it, it's going to kind of smash it up. You don't need 5 different kinds of adhesives, but I have them, so I use them here and there throughout. You can get by with one roller and make cards all day long if you need to. This is a bronze pen that I got in a thrift store, sealed in its package still for 99 cents, and it's super fine. So I used the gold pen and the bronze pen just to add interest on that one. That was fun. Then I'm going to lay them out and show them to you, and I'll show you the one card at the end that was too cute and I almost forgot to make because I had the parts sitting aside and I just wanted to share it with you. Thanks so much for watching this big, long, crazy video, and be sure and tell me in the comments if you like this video or if you would prefer to just see the finished products. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up. Your support lets me know if I should keep making these videos or just go back to crafting at my pace and do whatever I want. So if you want me to keep sharing, then be sure and let me know. And again, thank you so much for watching and your support, and I hope that you're having fun and getting inspired to craft and relax. Have a great day. Thanks.